Well, people will jump on as they come in. I hope that they don't try and jump in an hour later because they've missed the time change. But there we go. That's the danger of it. Welcome, Lucy, to our lovely little network, and thank you so much for agreeing with this random email that popped in from some strange lady saying, "Hey, I like what you do. Can you come and talk to the network?" Which is pretty cool. But for those that don't know anything about Lucy, she is trained as an EMF inspector, but that is not the wholeness of what Lucy does or is passionate about, but that is definitely what we've snagged her for today. But Lucy's also a geomancer and works with the energies of the land and has done some really cool trainings. I'm sure that she'll talk about those, but looks at earth acupuncture as well. So very much in our genre, in certainly connected to the work that we do. And certainly your practice is growing and evolving and changing. And we're just very grateful that you've agreed to talk to us about EMF and put some of the mysteries and the realities in front of us so that we can be better house healers for our clients because we do tap into that aspect when we're looking at the overall kind of stress level of a house. So it's just amazing to be able to hear from a true expert in this field. So thank you for agreeing to speak with us, Lucy.
You're welcome. So,
Over to you.
okay, well, you just took the first part of my speech, which is great, but because I have my notes and I don't really know them all, even introducing myself, I'm just going to go through them again. So, thanks everyone for being here, and Don, thanks so much for having me. I'm honored. So, I'm grateful. So, my name's Lucy Sanford. Yes, I'm trained as an electromagnetic radiation specialist, is what the certification was called by the Building Biology Institute. However, as of February 25th, I gave up my certification. You don't really need it to be an EMF consultant, and I've kind of moved on. I want to create a world that is a world that I want to live in. So focusing on EMF kind of doesn't, go along with that. But I do help people, and I will still continue to help people. So having said that, um, um, so what I do is I go into homes with EMF and I have some state-of-the-art meters and things like that, and I measure the amount of radiation that's coming off common things that we find in most homes, and these include electric fields and magnetic fields, and I'll get into all of the separate fields later. I'm going to try and make it not boring for you. And not so technical. Anyways, and we have something called dirty electricity. We have radio frequency fields, which is wireless stuff. And I even have this really cool meter that will measure the amount of voltage that couples onto the body from the bed at night. And so we take all the measurements and then we actually lower them, and I show them how to lower them. So this is considered, we classify all these different types of radiation as EMF, which stands for electromagnetic fields, or EMR, which stands for electromagnetic radiation, and they are interchangeable. And it's considered a science of quantity as we are actually lowering the levels of EMF in the home. And we often refer to these types of radiation as the techniques. So I'm also a geomancer, as Dawn mentioned, and geo, of course, refers to the earth. And I dowse to detect the earth grids and the underground water veins, and then I harmonize them through a type of earth acupuncture. And this is considered a science of quality because we are changing the quality of the energy of the lines. And we refer to this type of radiation as the spherics. So, unfortunately, in today's world, the spherics are forced to carry the technics along the earth lines and the earth grids as the earth gets radiated from the surrounding cell towers and the hydro lines that carry the electric and magnetic fields along the lines, down the poles, and into the earth's grid lines. So, but the purpose of this presentation today is to raise awareness on EMF and to give you, and thus your clients, I lost my place. Hold on. Helpful information and tips on how they can, what they can do in their homes to protect themselves from the radiation. And to this end, I think, Dawn, you've already sent out the handouts, have you? Yes. Okay, so you should have 3 handouts from me. You're welcome to hand these to your clients, whatever you think would help. I'm glad to share. One is a list of symptoms of EMF, as well as an article I wrote on how to heal from electromagnetic radiation, and a standard mitigation list of things people can do in their own homes to lower the fields. Now, keep in mind that we can only lower what we can control from inside the home. We cannot control exterior sources. They can be blocked, but then some of the blocking methods can be harmful as well. So there's a whole lot of stuff that comes along with that. Anyways, you're welcome to give these to your clients. You encourage them to start lowering EMF in their homes, especially at night when they go to sleep. So for those attending this workshop, for the meeting, you're going to get a copy of the presentation and slides after, so there's no need to take notes. Anyways, the doctors at the environmental clinic at Women's College Hospital in Toronto will tell those who experience that those who will tell you that those who experience 8 or more symptoms that are listed on the handouts that cannot be attributed to other illnesses are likely affected by some form of EMF radiation. And we call these people who are affected, like this illness that for people that are affected by it, we call it electromagnetic sensitivity or electromagnetic hypersensitivity, and we refer to this as EHS. So I do want to preface this talk. I'm going to get to, I have a presentation for you, but I just want to preface it. People who are sick with EHS, they live in fear and they live in survival. And this fear is making them sicker. So while we can clean up the home, they're still not able to leave it. They're still living in this fear and they can't see their way out of it. They're so focused on the electromagnetic radiation. And so the only other way to actually heal and to get better in their environment is and to truly get better is they have to step out of the fear. And the only way to that is to retrain the brain with neuroscience methods. And that's how I got better. I was sick with this stuff for a long time. And I have much of that in my information and resources in the handouts as well. So I do, though, ask you and encourage you to be mindful when talking to any clients who may be sick with EMF and to approach the topic with compassion and gentleness. And, it's like I had someone that came into my home and they said, okay, and they knew that I was sick with this stuff. And they said, okay, I have a cell phone. I've turned it off. It's in my car. Is that enough for you? I have no other wireless radiation on me. And I cannot tell you the effect of relief that had on me. To know that. So keep those kind of things in mind when you're dealing with these kind of people and don't have that stuff on. It will, and let them know it because they need to know it, right? And else it's going to be in their heads. Anyways, okay, so I have a PowerPoint presentation and I'm going to just share my screen here. Dawn and I just practiced this and it worked. So hopefully it'll still work. Okay, share screen. Okay, there's my screen. And then what am I? Oh, share. Here we go. Alrighty, can everybody see this? Yes? Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to start this from the beginning. Okay. Shoot. Okay, sorry. I don't know what's going on. This is not the right thing. What do I do?
Okay, is it not the right slide deck or is it
Okay, here we go. Okay,
different?
here we go. Slide 1. Okay, thank you. Okay, so first I'm going to tell you my story. I was a top real estate agent in Toronto for 25 years, and for 20 of those years, I felt increasingly ill. Most of my symptoms were neurological, and they were experienced in my brain and nervous system, and they got increasingly worse each year. But I didn't know what it was. No one knew at the time. I was one of those canaries in the coal mine, and I was terrified by how I felt. No medical practitioner, no natural practitioner could figure it out. So they diagnosed me with chronic fatigue syndrome, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, sleep apnea. And over the years, I became dizzy, nauseous, and severely depressed. I developed skin rashes, itching and burning. I couldn't remember things. My writing became dyslexic. My spelling was all inverted. I was extremely anxious and I had bursts of anger for no reason. I had 2 years where I did not sleep for more than 2 hours a night. I was running on pure adrenaline and I felt like an engine that sputters just before it breaks down. I became suicidal. I was diagnosed with clinical depression. I was admitted to the mental ward for 2 weeks and I was given antidepressants and anti-anxiety pills. Finally, after 20 years, my naturopath figured it out. He had just come back from a seminar at the environmental clinic in Texas and had made the connection to my symptoms. And by that time, I had developed 60 of the 66 symptoms and illnesses that are associated with EMF. So he referred me to the environmental clinic at Women's College Hospital in Toronto, where I got an official diagnosis of electromagnetic hypersensitivity, or EHS. It's also referred to as microwave illness. And this is a good visual of what EHS felt like to me. It felt like a raw, frayed wire running down my spine. And every exposure to EMFs felt like a fork that touches a metal filling. And it would just... So I packed my bags. I dropped my very successful real estate career. I sold my real estate business to my competition and I moved to a small Ontario town where my mom lived. I bought a house. I completely gutted it for protection from EMF and I felt great in my house, but awful when I went out. I couldn't be around other people with cell phones or anywhere with high electric and magnetic fields, which was everywhere. So then I came across some programs that were based on neuroscience that promised to retrain the brain. They were created for people with multiple chemical sensitivities, but could also be adapted for EMF. And so here's how it works. The structure of a cell. So the membrane of the cell is like our skin. Its job is to read the external environment. And then once it detects an EMF in the environment, it puts a signal on the cell to tell the body what to do the next time it happens. So then it takes 2 seconds to identify this EMF as a threat to one's existence and 30 more seconds to shut the cell down. So it impairs the cell. It shuts down every process in the body but what it needs to run or fight. It then dumps the chemicals of stress, such as adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine into the body so that it can run or fight. So one can still repair the impaired cell for up to 50% lifetime of that cell. And if it's not repaired in that time limit, the cell makes another cell called a daughter cell, which has the same impaired signature as the original cell. And thus, over the years, these cells build up in the body until we get the symptoms. And they say it can take 5 to 10 years, depending on how much exposure you have. So one of my favorite teachers, Dr. Joe Dispenza, whose work and meditation programs are based on neuroscience, tells us that the body gets addicted to the chemicals that are produced when it's under stress. So it actually gets addicted to the adrenaline, cortisol, and norepinephrine. And the symptoms have become an unconscious addictive habit. It just goes unconsciously into, that reaction. So here's the thing. We're electromagnetic beings. We're made of atoms. That makes us 99.99999% energy and only 0.0000001% matter. Our bodies are only 0.0000001% of us. We are actually made from the same infinite field of intelligence that created the entire cosmos. And we have the power that creates universes flowing through us. And we can work with this. And I did. And that's how I got better. I worked with the energy. And so within weeks from working with it, I could go into public places without feeling the symptoms of EMF. It was remarkable. Several years later, I got diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So first I freaked out and then I thought, oh, I how to do this. I know how to do this. And I applied the same brain rewiring techniques that I used to heal the EHS to the cancer. I'm talking stage 4 here. And I upped my meditation practice from 1 hour a day to 6 hours. That was three 2 hour sessions. And only 10 days after my first chemo, 10 days, I was, in this meditation, I felt an energy leave my body. It just went poof. And I thought, oh gosh, my cancer's gone. I had been to enough Joe Dispenza workshops that I had seen these miracles. I knew inside that I was better. I was so excited that I actually paid for a CT scan, which is heavy radiation, to prove it to my oncologist. And so while it did not show that it was entirely gone, it showed that I was over 50% better after only one chemo. And 6 weeks later, I was in complete remission. A third CT scan showed I was in complete remission. So my oncologist was stunned, and my naturopath called it a miracle. And so we really do indeed have this power within us to heal. I mean, we really are. We really are beings of miracles. It's really exciting. So, on that positive note, let's learn a little bit more about electromagnetic fields or radiation. So the common types of EMFs that I find in most every home include man-made electric fields, magnetic fields, radio frequency or wireless fields, also known as RF, and dirty electricity. And it is the radio frequency radiation that tends to be the biggest culprit. This includes 5G and all wireless devices or communication systems. It includes your cell phones, your cordless phones, your Wi-Fi, your smart tablets, anything that's smart, not so smart, is wireless, smart appliances, smart TVs, etc. So we lower this radiation by switching to wired connections or shutting down all the wireless stuff or using blocking materials. And this is all in your handouts. I want to talk a little bit more about 5G here. So 5G stands for the 5th generation of wireless technology, and it refers to the signal strength, which affects the speed of the internet. So 1G was analog, 2G went digital, 3G brought web browsing, email, video downloading, and smart technology. 4G brought higher speeds, quality and capacity, gaming, mobile TV, 3D television, and cloud computing. And 5G's max speed is aimed at being up to 35 times faster than 4G. So it delivers ultra-fast download speeds, the ability to connect multiple smart devices to the same router, and it opens the way for smart transportation and machinery. So coming back to the other types of EMF, we have electric and magnetic fields, which include your exterior power lines, either above ground or below your electrical appliances, your lamps, building wiring, etc. So an electric field always exists. Even if the appliance is turned off, you have a lamp and you turn it off, the electric field still exists. It still has a measurement. It exists as a potential in the wire. It stands on standby. So the only time it goes away is when you have a power outage or if you unplug the appliance or the lamp. So a magnetic field goes hand in hand with the electric field. However, it's only created once you turn that appliance on and the wiring is, it's running, the electricity is running. So the lamp is on. And because it's on, so you have your electric field here, you have the magnetic field that goes around it. So it goes further afield. So the only, so while we can lower magnetic fields by turning an appliance off, we will still have the electric field, which can still be toxic to the person. And the only ways that we can control this is either with distance from the source of the field. If you're at least 6 feet away, the electric field goes down incredibly, or by turning off the source. So you can turn off the breakers. We actually suggest, because people who are sick, we turn the breakers off to the bedroom at night before they go to bed. We actually have these things that are called cutoff switches, and they're little remotes, and people can just go through their house like this, click, 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 and lower that for themselves. Anyways, lastly, we have dirty electricity. So dirty electricity is electrical power that's been corrupted by the use of modern appliances. And the sources can include compact fluorescent light bulbs, dimmers, variable speed fans, chargers, transformers, inverters, and they're fixed by changing the type of sources, by correcting wiring errors or installing filters. So people that put, solar on their houses, they have these inverters, they're actually creating a lot of dirty electricity in their house. And anyways, that's what that is. So, what is the big debate on all of this EMF stuff? What is the argument between the government, Health Canada, the telecom industry on one side, and the recent science emerging on the other side? So there's two classifications of electromagnetic radiation. We have ionizing and we have non-ionizing. So when cell phones first came out, the telecom industry, the governments and the powers that be, were only concerned with the thermal effects, the heating effects of ionizing radiation. Okay. Ionizing radiation is well known as a carcinogenic, and it includes things like X-rays, radioactive sources, CT scans. It has thermal effects or heating effects. It means that it has enough energy to cause cellular damage by breaking the chemical bonds of the cells. Whereas non-ionizing radiation, which is all the stuff we're talking about today, such as your power lines, your cell phones, your cell towers, your Wi-Fi, and all these things we're talking about, they don't have a thermal or a heating effect. They don't have enough energy to break the bonds of the cell, but they do have enough energy that excites the cell. But because they were only concerned with the thermal effects, cell phones were deemed safe and they were exempted from any pre-market studies. There were no tests performed on the long-term biological effects of non-ionizing radiation. So the guidelines for public safety standards in effect today are still based on the thermal effects of ionizing radiation. They haven't been changed since 1996 when the Telecommunications Act came into being. So the Telecommunications Act of 1996 was the watershed for the cell phone industry. It was the result in part of nearly $50 million in political contributions and lobbying largesse from the telecom industry. And the prize in the TCA for telephone companies branching into wireless was a rider known as Section 704, and that specifically prohibits citizens and local governments from stopping placement of a cell tower due to health concerns. It was clear there could be no litigation to oppose cell towers because the signals make you sick. So they knew all the time. So since the Telecommunications Act in 1996, there's been no studies proving this technology is safe for long-term exposure or for children to use, but thousands of studies proving it is unsafe. So in May 2011, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, or IARC, which is a subgroup of the World Health Organization, whose role is to monitor and identify global causes of cancer, classified radio frequency and electromagnetic fields as Group 2B, which is a possible human carcinogen. So the key to understanding how this can affect us is to think of ourselves as energy beings, because we are. Everything our body does is possible because of our electrical system. Okay, what happened? Our brain runs our body. It emits electrical waves that signal the body, and it tells it what to do. And these external man-made EMFs can disrupt those signals. So Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So that's what we're going to do. What is a frequency? So a frequency is the number of times that a wave vibrates per second, and it's measured in hertz. So 1 hertz, you see, equals 1 vibration per second, okay? Or 1 wave passing by every second. Oh, it's measured in hertz. So yeah, it's just that one's by way by every second. So a kilohertz would be 1,000 vibrations. A megahertz would be 1 million. A gigahertz would be 1 billion vibrations per second. Okay. So, for example, our electrical system in North America is 60 hertz, and I think in the UK it's 50 hertz. This means that if you could see the number of waves passing by in the wiring in your walls, if you're in North America, you'd see 60 waves pass by. In the UK, you'd see 50 waves pass by every second. Okay, so you're with me? Yeah, we on the same wavelength? Okay, let's look at that. What is a wavelength? So, a wavelength is the length of the wave from one crest of the wave to the next. Can you see my little arrow here on the screen? Yes, okay, good. And the shorter the wavelength, you see how it gets shorter, the higher the frequency. So it is the differences in the wavelength tell us the different kinds of electromagnetic energy, okay? So here we have an electromagnetic spectrum chart, and it shows the different kinds of electromagnetic energy along with the frequency ranges and the wavelengths. And it's read from like top to bottom, left to right. Okay, so we start here on the left with the extremely low frequency ranges, ELF. You have a picture of the Earth there. And all these, these extremely low frequencies are about it doesn't show it here, but it's in the 7.38 hertz range, okay? Which is mostly safe and beneficial for us. And it leads all the way up here to the extremely high types of radiation, which are ionizing. So here's the difference between the ionizing and the non-ionizing radiation, right? You can see where my thing is between non-ionizing and ionizing where it goes red, okay? So you're going to notice if you come back down to the wave, how the wavelength gets shorter and shorter as the frequencies get higher. And you're going to take a look now. We're going to take a look at the radio frequency section here, where you have the cell tower, your, Wi-Fi, your cell phone, microwave, etc. Okay. And Bluetooth. And we can see that they are approximately, you come down here, between 500 megahertz and 6 gigahertz. Okay, so around here is where these energies are. So again, that means that they are between 500 million vibrations and 6 billion vibrations a second when they're on. And now we have 5G, and that's going to take us right over here because it's 35 times faster to the 30 gigahertz range, which is here. Okay, right almost up to the ionizing radiation. That's 5G. Remember that a megahertz is a million hertz and a gigahertz is a billion hertz. So this is 30 vibrations a second. Just, I don't know, can you imagine that where energy goes going like this, 30 vibrations a second. Okay, so what does this mean for us? Well, it means that while we're in the middle of all this stuff that we are using in our homes or we are sleeping with under our pillows, your children are sleeping with under their pillows, or they have in the external environment, we are exposed to multiple man-made objects vibrating between 500 million and 30 billion waves a second. So in her book, Zapped, best-selling author Anne Louise Gittleman says that humans are literally walking conversations. We're cells chattering to one another. We're interacting with the natural world. We're using electrical charges and chemicals to make these connections. But when we add these artificial electromagnetic forces to the mix, we're starting to learn that these quiet conversations suddenly become like cacophony, as though a flash mob has arrived and it's shouting and screaming and with boom boxes blaring so loudly you can't hear yourself think. When you think of it like that, imagine yourself in a bar and you've got someone's trying to talk to you. You've got really loud music going on. You've got all this stuff happening. You got the TVs going. It's really hard to hear everything. So your cells get confused. The signals that are on the cells that tell the body what to do get all cross-wired and they start sending the wrong chemical messages to the body. So what are these wrong chemical messages? Well, Martin Paul, who is a professor emeritus from Washington State University, is one of the leading experts on the health effects of wireless radiation on human health. And his research suggests that EMFs work by activating something called voltage-gated calcium channels that are located on the plasma membranes surrounding our cells. This is the little signal that goes on the cell when you're exposed to EMF. And when they're activated, they open up and they allow excess calcium to flow into the cell, which causes devastating downstream effects. And it is the excess calcium in the cell which is responsible for most, if not all, of the biological effects. So, and we're talking about copious amounts of calcium. And actually, if someone gets blood work done and they get, like I did when I was really sick and I had blood work done and it showed I had too much calcium, it showed like so much calcium that they took the calcium away. But that's because that's wrong. You're not having enough. Your body's using it and you need more. He also says that one of the downstream effects that causes these responses to EMFs may be due to the increase of a chemical in our body called peroxynitrite. Now, all these things are, we need in a certain amount, but this is a powerful oxidant that exhibits a wide array of tissue damaging effects of oxidative stress. And you can think of it like having rust in the body, and this increases. So, another researcher, Dr. Andrew Goldsworthy, he's a retired lecturer from the Imperial College of London. He's also spent many years studying calcium metabolism in living cells and the effects of EMFs. And his research concludes as well that virtually all of the non-thermal, non-heating effects of electromagnetic radiation can be accounted for by the leakage of these cell membranes. And he tells us that what EMFs are doing is they're weakening the tight barrier junctions in our body that are meant to protect us from toxins. And they show damage to the thyroid gland from living within 100 meters of a cell phone base station caused hypothyroidism, which can lead to obesity and chronic fatigue. It also affects the adrenal glands and stimulates adrenaline and cortisol. And excess adrenaline causes headaches, cardiac arrhythmia, high blood pressure, tremors, and an inability to sleep. So the calcium leakage from the EMF opens up these tight junction barriers, which protect us from allergens and toxins. And okay, I'm going to go, can't see it. In brain neurons, it stimulates hyperactivity and it results in ADHD. And the opening of the blood-brain barrier causes death of neurons, resulting in early dementia and Alzheimer's. The opening of the respiratory epithelial barrier increases the risk of asthma in children. And the opening of the blood-liver barrier may be partially responsible for the current outbreak of liver disease. And the opening of the gut barrier may also promote allergens and is linked to autoimmune diseases. So this is what EMFs do to you. So another research shows us that exposure to electromagnetic radiation may suppress the production of melatonin in the brain, and melatonin is not only a hormone that helps you sleep, but it's also a tumor suppressor, and we really don't want to be suppressing a tumor suppressor. I want to take a look at some sobering statistics that are taken from a draft paper titled The Root Cause in the Dramatic Rise of Chronic Disease, and it's written by Richard Lear. He's the chairman of Greenwave International, and he offers dirty electricity filters for homes. So he says his extensive research identifies 36 diseases that have more than doubled between the years 1990 and 2015. He says there's been an unprecedented growth rate of chronic disease since that time. And although the top health threats continue to be cardiovascular disease, cancer, and infections, the rate of increase noted from the following diseases and disorders is astounding. And we don't know what they are now in 2025, 10 years later, but this is from 1990 to 2015. So attentional problems have increased by 819%. Alzheimer's disease has increased by 290%, 99%. Autism has increased by 2,094%. Bipolar disease in youth, 10,833%. Celiac disease, 1,111%. Chronic fatigue syndrome, 11,027%. Remember, you're going to get these notes. I can see that you might not be able to see all of it here. Depression is increased by 280%. Diabetes by 305%. Emotional problems by 2,500%. Fibromyalgia, 7,727%. Hypothyroidism, 702%. Lupus, 787%. Osteoarthritis by 449%. And sleep apnea by 430%. So, it's sobering. And interestingly enough, what he also found was that one of the 7 culprits in all of these diseases is peroxynitrite, exactly what, that oxidant that we talked about earlier. And his work recognizes that while free radicals or the oxidative stress is the initiator of these exploding chronic diseases, it's the peroxynitrite that is the accelerator. So where does all this leave us? Like, what's the good news? Well, when you work with the energy, this is again Anne Louise Gittleman from the book Zapped. When you work with the energy, you can change the environment, which in turn changes the expression of health or disease. We're the good news because we have the power to change how we react to EMF and how we choose to use it. As Anne Louise Gittleman says, when you work with the energy, you can change the environment, again, change the expression of health or disease, and that's how I got better. So, in 1992, the late Bruce Taney of Taney Technology built the first frequency monitor, and amongst other things, it showed that the frequency of a healthy body is between, okay, stop doing this, is between 62 and 68 million hertz. That's 62 and 68 million vibrations per second. And colds and flus start at 57 to 60. Colds and flus start at 57 to or 57 to 60 megahertz. Disease starts at 58 megahertz. Cancer starts at 42 megahertz. And therefore, it would stand to reason that if one had cancer and they raised their frequency by 20 megahertz, they would be healthy. And that's what I did. Dr. Joe Dispenza taught me that we're either living in fear and survival or we are living in creation. We cannot live in both at the same time. So choose creation. Choose to step out of fear. Deepak Chopra says, you are a field of pure potentiality with the power of creation. How can we then not have the power to manifest not only health and well-being, but a whole better world? Perhaps if we choose to focus on what is possible and envision what is good in this world rather than what is not, we can swap this 5G world for a 5D world, move into the 5th dimension, and help others along the way. Anyways, that's my talk. Thank you for listening. Now I have to get out of it. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop the sharing of the screen and come back here. I think we have a question and answer period.
That was amazing. We've already got a hand up, Miss Melanie.
I was actually applauding.
Oh, thank you.
Applauding. That was, you bring it to life. It was stunning. It is sobering and inspirational, and very much in puts the power back in our hands and puts, helps us to help our clients put the power back in their hands as well, which I think is pretty cool. So thank you for that. I loved it, and I could hear you, I could listen to you talk forever. And Rosemary, lovely to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for joining us. It's nice to see your lovely face. Questions, thoughts, comments?
I'll start if you like.
Go for it.
Lucy,
Yeah.
sorry. You said about oh, sorry. Sorry, Rosemary.
Dawn, I'm going to let you direct this
Yep.
part.
No, you're okay.
Okay. So I know who I'm talking to. Who am I talking to?
And
Melanie?
I think Melanie was going to ask the first question.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, Lucy. I have ME. I've had it for 30 years, and I had it following stage 4 cancer. So it's interesting you said that.
So you have a need, you said?
No, I have. Sorry, can you hear me better now?
I can hear you, but the accent's a little different for me.
Okay. I had stage 4 cancer 30
Had
years
or
ago.
have?
Had a long time
Okay.
ago. 30 years ago. I didn't even know I was sick. I just went for a free scan and found I had cervical cancer. No symptoms, nothing. If I hadn't gone, I'd be dead. So I was really lucky. And I remember them saying to me, we'll do all this for, radiation. And I thought, no, we're doing that. So I'm a druid. So I actually asked for help upstairs and said, I'm not going through that. I just literally met my husband and was the first kind of time I'd ever been happy in my life with this wonderful man. I thought, I'm not dying. I've got too much to do. Sorry, I was so angry. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to ask the universe to help me. And I pulled my shoulder. I was a conservation ranger in a forest, chainsawing and things all day long. Can you catch my accent? I was physically working in a woodlands. And I pulled my shoulder in a pond, pulling out logs. And so I'd gone to a physiotherapist, and I told him that I'd got cancer. He said, "Oh, I can fix that." I said, "Really?" So I ended up being lasered instead, which I came back 4 times, and every single time it got better. And I'm here now,
Wow.
thanks to that one wonderful man, little Indian gentleman. He was amazing. And but it was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go. So when you said that, I thought, oh my God, I hadn't realized that's what I was kind of doing in a way, because it's so long ago. It's 30 odd years ago now.
You were totally doing that. You were stepping out of fear and just going
Yeah.
after it in a different way.
Yeah, and everyone kind of said, "Oh, weren't you worried?" I thought I was bloody angry. Excuse my language. I'm not going anywhere. I've got my little boy. I had my husband. I thought, no, I'm not going anywhere. So it's interesting when you said that, because I've never thought about it in that way. But when you were saying that, I think, oh my goodness, that's exactly what happened. And
That's
I've been,
exactly what you were doing. You know, I wish I didn't want to do the chemo at all, but my
no,
sister-in-law was, a retired doctor, the pressure, and you had to
yes,
make a decision within minutes, right? Because and I remember that friggin' oncologist, I went sitting down there and my sister-in-law, the doctor, was with me. And the oncologist said, well, you've got stage 4 cancer. We're going to do, 6 rounds of chemo. You'll get better. 6 years later, it will come back. We'll do a stem cell transplant, and then you'll get another 6 years out of life. And I went, what the friggin' heck? Wait, what? And I thought, I, the way they talk to you is so unnerving, and I had to make all this stuff. And my sister-in-law, the doctor, says, that's a really good prognosis. And I'm thinking, well, I don't think so, and then
no,
I sort of freaked, and then I started doing this other work. But I did do the chemo. I only did 3 of them,
good.
and I stopped after. I said, when it was in remission, I said, okay, that's it, I'm done. Never went back to that. But
Good.
yeah, I did sort of succumb to the pressure. But good for you, Melanie. That's fantastic. That's exactly what you were doing.
Yeah,
I'm
but I know
curious, the physio for cancer. What can I ask what kind
well,
of cancer it was?
it was cervical,
Okay. Wow.
and I
Physio.
and well, no, it
That's,
wasn't physio. The guy was a doctor, but he was doing my physio.
oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood. And he gave me this internal kind of lasering, which was freaky, but it saved my life. And every time I went back and he said, "Oh, it's a little bit more, we'll just do a bit." It was like saying to do mechanics. It was hilarious.
And that's a
But
hard
because
cancer to have, I would think. That's fantastic.
yeah, but if there are alternatives, and I know my friend's husband's just found he's got lung cancer, and she's trying all these alternative things and has turned down the chemo and everything. And they keep saying, "Is he not dead yet?" Because they've not done what they wanted him to do. So she's standing up to the pressure as well. And I was telling her all about you. So
Oh, good. So how long did it take you to get into remission?
um 6 months. I had
Fantastic.
every couple of months I'd go back and get checked. I still get checked all the time by the doctors. And they
Yeah.
said, "Oh, you'll get breast cancer." I thought, no, I'm bloody won't. I'm not getting breast cancer. And I'm still here. So touch
I
wood.
don't think they should talk to people like that. I'm convinced that that is what can kill people, is that you get that thought in your head, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think an awful lot of that, and also, I've never had a cell phone, I don't have a television, I don't have a micro. I am totally anti anything like that. I have a
Wow.
landline, and if it doesn't work, then they don't talk to me. Or I have a computer which everything's plugged in, everything's Ethernet. So
That's the way to
it,
go.
yeah, but I had a client the other day, and she was telling me that the whole house was completely done, and she even made the smart meter go down the end of their lane, so she didn't have to near a house. I thought, good for you, because we have
Oh
this
yeah, I got the
power.
smart meter taken off my house.
Yeah, well, here you have to have it, otherwise you're in real trouble.
Yeah, you
But
can block the back of it too for you can move it. You can have it moved at your own expense. At least in Ontario, that's what we did, and block the back of it, right?
yeah,
So
we were looking at that. We were looking at
yeah,
that. So, but I mean, this is it. We've got power that we don't even realize
I
because
know.
people don't know they have the power to say, no, I don't want to do that. I can do something else.
Yeah.
And so all power to you. Thank you so much. That
Thank
really
you. Well, thank you
resonated.
for your story.
Did I see Joe's hand up?
Hi, yeah,
Hi.
lovely, fascinating talk and resonated in so many different directions.
Oh, thank
I
you.
guess I'm really interested in the thoughts with 5G as being something that we can't step aside to because it's coming down upon us so much. And yeah, we have the capacities to raise vibrations if we're of that mind. But I'm wondering about whether you have any thoughts about the environment, because I know the much smaller waves are B length, and
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
that the actual the waves coming out are the same rather than a sort of electric fence that's about a meter. A sort of it's they're about the same size as bees. The smaller frequencies coming out the
Oh,
waves.
okay. So they're a faster frequency. Yeah.
Yeah, and the that a lot of our environment can't shield itself.
Well, it is a problem.
Mm,
It's certainly a problem, and it's also one of the other reasons I'm walking away from it because I can only help so much. People are
mm,
scared. I will help, right? But it's becoming more and more difficult to help people with this. You've got the stuff coming from things. The thing about 5G is it's a combination of stuff. So because it's such a high frequency, the wavelength is so short, it means they have to put the cell towers closer and closer to the homes because they can't go as far. So every block and a half or something like that. So if you're living in a city, sometimes the best way to escape that is to actually get out of the thing because I don't know how expensive that's going to be to do every area, you know. But I mean, and some of that stuff is very hard to block. And then if you're blocking radio frequency radiation, like they have these canopies that you can put over your bed, like completely over your bed and underneath your bed. And so, for an example, one of these things is if you put a canopy, it looks like like mosquito netting. You know, you can see through it, right? The thing about that is if you have electric fields on, because these are things that are made from silver material usually, so silver threads and silver material, you have to ground the canopy if you can get one that actually has all the threads connecting. By the way, Safe Living Technologies, SLT co is a really great place. They're building biologists. They're, they're retired electrical and like electrical engineers. They know their stuff and they know this stuff. And they sell products. I would send anyone all over the world to SLT if you wanted to, sort of get anything very, very reputable, slt.co. But if you have, for example, a canopy on your bed and you're shielding that, the silver thread that's in that is amplifying the electric and the magnetic field. Okay, because metal does that. So while it's blocking radio frequency, it's a problem with the electric field. So therefore, the only way around that is to turn the power off on on your meter, like on your, we call it a hydro panel here. We have breakers, right? It's not fuses, but breakers. And we turn
Electrical panel. We
what's
would
that?
call the UK would probably call it an electrical panel.
Okay, electrical panel. And hopefully people have breakers. And you can find out which breakers are for the bedroom. Hopefully the fridge is not on the same kind of breaker because you can't turn anything off that. And at nighttime, use a flashlight and turn those things off in your bedroom if you're sleeping in a canopy. The wall, the next to you, remember you got electric fields everywhere. So if you're possible to turn that stuff off around you and, above you, beneath you, I think that might be, you just have to be very careful because you don't want to increase the electric field for somebody. So we correct it with, I think you have it on the list too, with cutoff switches and things like that. I don't know if that happens because one thing can make it worse with another thing. And, the building biologists kind of should know that, right? I mean, because I lived through it for 20 years, I understood all that stuff. I came to building biology from a different place. I came from having experienced having the EHS. I'm not great at the technical stuff. I hate that stuff. I mean, I'm not good at understanding, the technical language and all that thing. I speak from having been through it and knowing how it affects the body. I don't, I've always had problems with the technical end, but that's just me. I don't know if I've answered your question. Did I answer a question or not?
I think for me, it's probably a little bit human centric because that's where and I'm sort of wondering what we're not, because we're trying to survive and thrive. And I'm just very conscious that we're leaking out to everywhere, and whether actually as an evolving consciousness ourselves, the planet has that evolving consciousness, and maybe we can shift and learn and evolve to coexist or transform what we find ourselves amongst.
Do you know?
No, it's a very good comment, and I think that you have to work on that. And I think, that's where neuroscience comes in. And I think that's really important because, I mean, everybody probably knows. I don't know if you meditate, if people meditate or they do these things for themselves. We are healers, so I would be, surprised if you should. I would probably guess that you all do that. But I mean, raising our own frequency, we have to. I mean, how are we going to get over it otherwise, having, and stepping into that world? Because a lot of people are not affected by this, right? And we can live in fear of it, or I mean it's everywhere. I mean, it's like it's crazy. It's very hard. It's very hard to deal with if you're dealing with people who are sick with it, trying to understand that, and then you don't have the greatest news because it is just becoming more and more difficult to change it. They have to move, they have to leave their businesses, they have to, it's a bitch. But if they're going to be focused on that all the time, they're never going to get better. So yes, we have to work on ourselves. I think you're right. I think that is, and we have to lower it as much as we can and then forget about it and try and work on that. And there's a lot of people that people can follow to do that, right? There's Joe Dispenza and everybody, they're all over the world, right? They're doing these kind of things. Bruce Lipton. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that are leaders in this. I don't know what you have in the UK. We have something here called Gaia.com, and it's got like amazing stuff on it. It's like a streaming Netflix, if you will. I don't know what you have in the UK, if that makes any sense, but yeah, there's all these speakers are there, and I think we have to encourage our clients and stuff too. But a lot of them, they're addicted to this stuff. They're addicted to the reaction to the stress that's in the body. So they're going to unconsciously find ways to stay in it. And that's the other problem I have. People phone me all the time. Oh, they won't do what I say. Because on an unconscious level, they're actually addicted and they can't, it's just becoming very difficult. But you're right. Yeah, I think the only way is to help them as much as we can and ourselves, and then go into this other thing of raising our own frequency and stay away from the fear. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I'm gonna add to that, and I think Melanie wants to chime in as well. I think we underestimate the power of the planet to reset itself. And I saw a little snippet on, I think it might have been on Facebook. I can't remember, one of the groups that I'm probably part of. And it was, I think there were mushrooms that have started to appear or have been appearing for many years in large quantities in Chernobyl. and they actually convert the radiation into good stuff. And nobody's planted them. The planet has just started to grow these wonderful things that are rebalancing the devastation there. So I believe that our planet has the ability to rebalance itself and reset itself. That doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't do good good husbandry around the planet. We shouldn't just, do all horrible things. But I do believe that it's got incredible wisdom and power. Melanie.
I second that emotion. I'm an ecologist, and
I'll come to Rosemary next.
Sorry, sweetheart.
I'm just going to come to Rosemary next, and then I'll do.
Yeah.
So Melanie, just.
Sorry, beg your pardon.
No worries, guys. Dawn, I wanted to piggyback on you because I live here in Germany and I mushroom hunt every day. I have a forest behind my back. I have been so blessed with everything around this sacred land. A lot of learning really fast, some things like I was just supposed to know and be good at. And the more people I talk to kind of that hear this stigma about the Chernobyl and about how the mushrooms aren't actually healthy to eat, how they're actually not healthy to this or to that because of Chernobyl. But hearing you, obviously, if they're turning it into something healthy for Mother Earth or for a human being to eat, that's different. But this gives me a beautiful thing to say, well, at least if we can't eat them, then they're doing their beautiful part to help Mother Earth. It's like just a direct conversation I have almost every day. So I appreciate that information. And then just so I don't have to come back to me later, similar lines, Lucy, I've been struggling with my husband to just respect the way I feel and overload on my daughter with electronics. And this house is very old. It's not wired properly. And what I speak is only my opinion. And I don't know if he doesn't trust or respect it enough, but being able to have background information and people and things I can continue to show him it's not just me. And, because he doesn't feel it doesn't mean I don't, and other people aren't affected by it. So it's been a long time, Dawn, right? So I knew I had to be here today. And this was a beautiful chat for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And I'm going to send you just the talk verbatim with all the slides in it. So everyone will have that.
Beautiful.
And Dawn, you're welcome to send it to people that weren't here too. I'd rather help people than not help people, right? But it's helpful to have been here.
Yeah, it'll go out to all the network members. I don't know. I think we've got maybe about 45 or so. So it will go out along with the recording as well, so everybody benefits. Melanie.
Sorry, Rosemary, I didn't realise you put your hand up, darling.
No.
The mushrooms, it's neutralising them. It's neutralising the energy, as far as I understand it. I mean, I studied ecology when I was a ranger, and it's homeostasis, that the planet will find homeostasis, but we have to help it evolve. We are the planet. We're not apart from the planet. We're part of it. So if we raise our frequency, as Lucy was saying, we will raise the whole frequency of the planet, which is the whole Gaia movement. I grew up in the 60s, and it's a totally different world now than we were when I was a child, where everyone's aware. Whether they do anything about it is another thing, but people know. So it will happen. But as far as the mushrooms concerned, I mean, that's one thing, but people are very, like Lucy was saying, my husband teaches, and I used to teach as well, in the same place, and I went to work with him on Friday. It was bring your wife to work day, because I was teaching with him because they were so short-staffed. And the kids all have ADHD. They all they have no concentration. They put their phones down, they have anxiety because they have to put them in a box at the start of the lesson. These are teenagers, kind of like 16 up to 18, 19. If they put them in a box, they literally have anxiety and have to go and have counselling. That is not normal, and it's not healthy, and it's not. What do you do? My grandson was given an iPad at 2, and he has never put the damn thing down. When he came to my house, I said, "Oh, it doesn't work yet," and he was freaked out because I put it in a box. I said, "No, electricity's broken. We don't have any of that." And I took him through the woods. He was so shocked. He'd never
Yeah.
been out.
A
It's,
child's brain is more affected by
yeah.
this stuff than an adult brain because their skulls are thinner.
And they're
They're
growing
actually
as
like
well.
by 10% more or something. It goes in
Mm.
deeper. Yeah.
But so we've all got responsibility to do that because, whether you've got a child or a grandchild, you have to say no. I'm dowsing someone's house at the moment, and she says anything that has to be charged goes in the kitchen at night. No one has phones in their room. Nobody has iPads or anything. And I thought, thank goodness, people are beginning to see that that's a sensible thing. The amount of people I've seen with sleeping with them under their pillows is terrifying.
That's really
But
scary.
yeah,
I used to, my ex is a druid geomancer. Um, I had done all the biogeometry courses and had just sort of come back from that, was all very excited, Ibrahim Krim stuff, and was doing the earth grids and all that kind of things. And then I met this guy, and we worked together for 3 years. And he did underground water veins, and it was a dowser, and it took me outside to because biogeometry was healing it from inside using symbols. Like when for Reiki masters that have the Shoku-rei and like all the other symbols too, right? That it really can really, sound healing. I mean, all kinds of things can change that too. So he developed this paint, and you can this little thing, and we painted our walls. We had so the base coat. So it was just this little powder thing that you could buy from him, and it had all kinds of stuff in it. It was all kind of made into this powder, and it had shungite and all different things in that. And shungite can really help as well, right? And so you mix this little powder of this big sort of little powder thing into a can of paint, and you put that on your wall, and it creates a different effect. Instead, because it's sort of rough, it creates an effect that's a little bit wavy like
like
that. So the
texture.
energy kind of moves like this along it, and it changes. And then the top coat he mixes with moonstone. And so it's kind of we did all that too. We put prayers on the wall. We took the paint, we put prayers underneath, and then we painted over the prayers
Oh.
so that we did some really wonderful stuff. So there's so many things that you can do, right, that are just so so amazing, naturally and things too, which is
And it puts the power back in our hands. And I think that's incredibly important to just remember, because all of this is being done to us, and we can't control that. But when we're doing things like that and enjoying doing things like that, we regain control over our
yeah.
listening. I
And
absolutely,
being in nature, being
yeah.
on the land, being, away from this stuff. Yeah. Stepping out of fear. It's well, we're changing. I mean, I even think the planets are aligning now to shake us up. I mean, we're all here, and we can change while we're in this dimension. We can change to another dimension that is one that is just, be living in this world, and we're still in a fifth dimensional state. I mean, it's all happening, right? So it's
I
kind
think
of
that might be my new mantra, from 5G to 5D.
That's what I thought. I love that. I thought, oh, that's a good line to end with. We'll move from 5G world to a 5D world.
Rosemary, did you have a question, or is that a heart? You love that?
Dancing.
I love that. And one of the things
I'm
that
throwing up my 5D gang signs.
you're 5D. Nice. And one of the things that I had a little epiphany on is I'm really into UFOs, or UAPs as they call them now, and the sightings are more prolific for sure. So are we just looking up more, or are they present more? And when I saw that graphic where it's got where 5G is, and then the ultraviolet light, because I do think they're interdimensional. And so one of the things I thought was, as we're increasing this frequency around the earth, is that enabling UFOs to interact with us in a more visible way? So that was Tiffany, I had nothing to do with EMF really, but I thought, I wonder if. So that might be a rabbit hole I go down.
We actually have a group here that we go UFO sighting. We go, once the nice weather hits, we go and find some different places to sit and look at the skies at night. It's kind of fun.
Me too. Right. Any further questions for Lucy? I'm just looking at the time, so we're about 9:10. Is that? Yeah. Or whatever 10 it is in your part of the world. Joe.
Sorry, I'm just totally curious. I just because you said that you are leaving the EMF behind, and I just wonder if you've got a little signpost of where you're heading and what you're doing now.
Okay, I do. Thank you for asking. Okay, this is funny. Well, I've become a Reiki master. I'm a Reiki master and all that stuff, but I'm reading tarot cards. I am like just obsessed with it. I love it. It feeds everything that I've learned in my whole life. 32 years of analysis in my younger years and understanding the conscious and unconscious minds, all the neuroscience stuff. It's all in the tarot, right? I mean, all that stuff and how you read it and all the different pathways and the stuff. I'm just obsessed. So that's so yes, tarot reader, Reiki and that stuff. Yeah, I'm just having a blast. I'm having so much fun. And yeah.
That's cool. Melanie is a tarot reader as well. I don't know if anybody around the group, but Melanie
Lucy,
yeah.
Sorry, have you come across Rachel Pollack?
No, I'm still well, I know that name, but I haven't. So I'm going to
Sorry, Dawn.
Who's Rachel Pollack?
Well, she read my cards once back in the 70s. Rachel Pollack, she's dead now. She just passed away, but she is an amazing tarot reader and 78 Degrees of Wisdom. Brilliant. It changed my life.
78 Degrees of Wisdom?
Yeah, 78 Degrees of Wisdom. It's based on Jungian psychology.
Oh, Jungian? Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I
know that. Yeah.
She read my cards.
Degrees of Wisdom. And Rachel Pollack. I've heard the name.
Yeah, she's amazing. Well, was amazing. She's still amazing. But she read my cards in London years and years ago, and I worked with men my whole life in a male kind of profession, from horticulture to ecology to chainsawing, and I was obsessed with her hands because she had man's hands. I'm thinking this delicate little kind of twin set of pearls was wearing these massive hands. I thought that's really weird. I kept trying not to look at her hand, and it was only years later I realized she was one of the first people to be transgendered.
Oh, wow.
She's the world dancer. So if you know your tarot, you'd know the world dancer.
Wow.
So I thought that's why she's so good. Because she can see both sides. I thought that was really weird. Years later I read them, I thought, oh my God, that's why.
Oh, I like that. I didn't know. That's very interesting. Yeah. I love it. I mean, it's also very connected to source, right? So I mean, it's just like I read, but it all comes to me, right? Just and it's just all those years of meditating and 6-hour a day meditations for a while and all that stuff. I don't do that now. I just do an hour a day, but it's really, and sometimes I do a second one, but yeah.
Tarot's wonderful. You see so much in the cards, and I've read them for over 50 years, and I still find new things every time. So
I find it just fascinating. I find that it's just they're not wrong. The only thing that sort of ends up being wrong is maybe the reader is not, they're not, there's so many different ways it could be read, right? So, but yeah, I don't know. It feeds every part of my soul. It's actually passion. It just gives me passion. And it's been a long time. Like the EMF doesn't give me passion.
It's indigestion. Enjoy.
It doesn't, it's just not doing it, right?
Yeah. No, it's just another step. Enjoy it. So I've never wanted to give it up.
I was meant to learn it, right? I mean, obviously I was meant to learn it because I was very affected by it, and I had to go through that to get to, we all have to go through where we are, and I'm very grateful for all of it, but now I'm, moving on.
You should give us your details so we can get in touch with you after about your tarot.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to say, Lucy, as a thank you for spending time with us, you get 12 months access to the network So if you are comfortable, I will add your email onto our email distribution list.
Add it on. Thank you.
Group,
Thank you
which
very much, everybody.
Facebook group, so I can send you the information on that, and then you can just join any of the Zoom calls that you feel guided to join. You'll get a link to the recording, regardless. So, welcome to our lovely little network, and thank you.
Everybody. Thanks for being here. This is lovely. Thank you.
So thank you so much. I am going to call time. We are at 9:15. Amazing, Lucy. Totally worth waiting for. I'm glad that you've recovered from the late last year where we had to reschedule. You were worth waiting.
Sorry about that.
Thank you so much for coming and chatting with us, and lovely to see everybody. I love you all, but lovely to see you, Rosemary. It's been such a long time, and it has given me joy to see your little face today.
Thank you. You guys as well for me.
Bye, everyone. Have a great.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Dawn. Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.